Okay, my name is Ray Kaderli, and I'm the founder of the Hemp Build Network. I founded that more so to fulfill the necessity to build with hemp because it was something that I wanted to do as an investment. My background is a real estate broker and investor, and then when I started learning more about hemp and its capabilities in the built space, I liked all of its scenarios. I love all of the environmental impact that it can have. I love all of the positive attributes, but for me, the two main things were its efficiency financially and then its durability, which translates both of those to money in my pocket. So I'm more pragmatic in my approach to it. And so we have an investment fund that is currently building a concept house in San Antonio, Texas, that will be the prototype for multiple other houses that our investment fund will then build and hold as investment properties. And then the Hemp Build Network is a network of professionals that can supply those needs and so those supplies and those services to those who would want to build with hemp, whether they are building their own house or whether they are going to be doing something on the line of spec home or production builders. So we want to service those markets, and that's what we're doing.
Hello everybody, my name is Tim White, President of Texas Healthy Homes. Texas Healthy Homes, our approach has always been, since I first got into building back in '96, of coming from the historic natural building direction of construction. Basically, when you go back and look at all the buildings that have lasted for thousands of years, we end up with monolithic wall systems, some natural, well, all of them natural materials, but a lot of them heavy fiber-based. We looked at hempcrete back in '07, '08, and it was all coming in from Europe. And with Texas Healthy Homes, we're also looking at the carbon footprint of the house that we build. So on our current projects that we do under the Texas Healthy Homes building system, we only do structural grade beams around the outside for all of our wayfaring walls, and the interior for all of our slabs. We do all adobe earthen material, so we cut out all the concrete, we cut out all the steel. We only do monolithic natural wall systems, in this case with hempcrete. We're locking up a lot of CO2 inside of that. We only do historic 3-coat lime plasters, no Portland cement in any of that material, that has shown a track record of thousands of years of success when done properly. And then on the interior, we finish all of our brown coat lime plasters with a finish coat of earthen clay plaster material. We mainly use American Clay's product out of New Mexico. The clay carries a negative ionic charge. Anybody out here know how good negative ions are for you? You know, your wife's probably got your salt lamp, guys. You know, those are all negative ions that are great for you. They also help control humidity and temperature swings inside of a building envelope. So it regulates that humidity and temperature inside of that building envelope, which helps reduce your energy consumption. At the same time, we don't use paint. So we've been able to get rid of all the synthetics in the paint, all the synthetics and natural funky materials that would be associated with the conventional hollow cavity toxic wall system. And then we coat that whole natural wall system with mineral-based materials that are pulling moisture out. So we can get rid of all of our vapor barriers because we know that water's going to get in. We know that as humans we can't keep it out, but we sure have to put a protective coating on that wall system to draw that water out if it ever gets in. Once you do that, you have a wall system that doesn't mold and you can move forward.
I'm not going to dive that deep. We're just giving a TMA, and my background, actually I trained as an architect in the UK, and since 2002 I've been in the US working in residential construction and design. The last major commercial project I did was the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Kazakhstan on the project management side, which was a LEED Gold certified project. And they had me travel all around the world to get all the parts and all the furniture, and I realized that whole greenwashing is really not where I wanted to be, but I really wanted to bring healthy buildings back in, and kind of started working with hempcrete and built the first hemp house in California in 2019, which was featured on Discovery Channel, but we brought all the hemp in from Europe, so kind of mirroring what these guys are saying, that the industry's starting to shift now towards hemp, and what Haven Earth is about is bringing the educational side. So really kind of, that's the block, I think, for a lot of people in knowledge is how it works. So I won't take too long.
That's great. Thank you guys. So when I first got into the industry of building, there weren't a lot of projects on the ground, yet alone here in Texas. So these three gentlemen have been working on projects here in Texas, and just wanted you guys to maybe elaborate on the projects you're doing here. What's unique about them, and just give us some background on what's going on.
Super. As far as the projects that we've done, the main one that we've got going on right now is we're building an affordable home in San Antonio, Texas. And this is something where we were looking to need to import. France is about 30 years ahead of us, and then they have the ability to produce multiple streams of offtakes for their hemp that they grow. And so their fiber goes in one direction, and then the herd is something that is produced on a large scale, and that lets them support a building industry there. And so one of the things that we're excited about is that we don't need to actually even look at the need to import because it's being produced domestically. Now, that sentence I could not speak over a year ago with consistency. There were a few that were pioneering the way, and now several more have come online to where now there are several processors within the country that can do the domestic production of herd, and that's one of the things that we're very excited about. The other thing in all of this becoming possible is being able to plug all the 5 pieces that I like to talk about for your project. And then the 5 pieces that are necessary are having a builder, having an architect, and an engineer. Those are 3 of the 5. Those are the professional supports that you need to build a house. And sometimes those are all found under one roof. Sometimes those are 3 different professionals that you bring to the table. But then the last 2 are the trades, and there are virtually none. So if you need trades to come in and do the actual building, much like you would a plumber, a framer, an electrician, you need to create those frames. And that's why we all do workshops. That's why we all mentor people to have them come onto our job sites, learn as they go, and then they can be the trade that we would then call on to subcontract. Now, the last thing is the supplier. If I'm gonna make an order of lumber, then I'm gonna pick up the phone. It's probably gonna be 2 to 3 days. A lot of times it's the next day. You can't do that with hemp supplies. And so what we need to do is be our own supplier. And that's one of the things that we're looking forward to doing, is being participating in that supply chain. And I know several of us are looking to do that as well. So those 5 things are what we're all accomplishing in order to accomplish one project. Now, most people aren't going to tolerate that. We are, because we see other things that are capable in the future. We see how big the industry is. We see how it can play a role in not only the construction industry, but the agricultural industry, and how the benefit that has financially, economically, to the citizens, as well as the people that are living in these as well, and the environmental aspect of it all. So those are the things that are exciting about our project, and those are the things that we had to overcome in order to make it happen.
Our first Hemp project was down in Hondo, Texas, and it was really cool because the owners came to us and they wanted the old historic dog trap in Breezeway. And that's kind of where we were wanting to go with Texas Healthy Homes, because we can detach the garage, make a covered breezeway that gives you a covered porch. This means in Texas, you got an outside space to use pretty much year round, especially if it's set up in that breezeway. I mean, it could be 105 and you're standing in that breezeway and there's a light breeze blowing, and you go to the other end of the breezeway after the air's moved down through that area, and it's nice. 85 degrees. We at Texas Healthy Homes, and especially me, Tim White, everything that you will hear from me is coming from the natural building direction. The true traditional building systems, and from the historic crafts person direction, like Ray was talking about that labor force. I know maybe 20, 30 people in North America that know how to put on a copper 3-coat line plaster system. There's a handful of us that even can comprehend doing an Adobe floor and doing it correctly. We don't feel at Texas Healthy Homes that that's a limitation for that to us is an opportunity to bring more people into our crew, so that we can create craftspeople. Because at Texas Healthy Homes, we're not, I don't care about building 1-2 houses a year. I want to build 40, 50 houses a year. Because that's really the direction that we need to go. As it's been said here at this conference, you know, the hemp movement in Texas is an infant. You know, as an investor, Ray and I have talked about this on Clubhouse. Can we displace 50% of the houses that we're building today with our toxic, hollow cavity, modern, conventional building materials? In 50 years, can we displace 50% of those houses with natural hempcrete houses that are going to last for hundreds of years instead of 50 years? Ray believes that's possible. To me, that's hundreds of billions of dollars of profit waiting there on the table for the original investors that come in at this point in time. I mean, $200 million could yield you billions and billions of dollars in 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road. We are literally right here today, the hemp movement and the hemp building movement, where Portland cement was in 1890. Okay? Look at where they are today. Okay? This is the potential of investment that could be there. We at Texas Healthy Homes are wanting to bring people on that want to have a career in natural, sustainable building, and we bring them on and we train them and we build our company, and that is really our mission. And I know that the best thing that I can do in the rest of my life that I'm here, you know, and I'm only 55, so I'm not that old, but if I can lay a good foundation, that might be the best that I can do, and I'm okay with that. So, River? Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I just wanted to ask a question, actually, maybe it's a little off topic, but who knows one of the benefits of the hempcrete house? Can you raise your hand? Okay. Just feels like we're talking the details like construction people tend to do without really, kind of, you guys understand what the benefits are. You know, obviously we can grow it, but what does it mean to be a natural healthy home? Things going, right?
Yeah, good point.
These are homes that breathe. The biggest issue in the construction industry is moisture, apart from fire and all these other things, right, and toxicity in materials. But what these old original materials were doing are able to wick the moisture out. They're able to control and regulate that interior environment of the home, so that you're not dealing with mold, you're not dealing with all these toxins in your home, which is predominantly what we're dealing with in our environment and commercial architecture now. People get sick building syndrome, you've all probably heard of that. So it's not only about an ecological building material, which is great, we can grow our homes, it's really about what it's doing for our health. And that's the predominant thing that we need to be able to get across. So I've got a project in California right now, Hemp House, and I've been trying to get a permit for that for the last 10 months. It's a 400 square foot addition on a house for a school teacher. And the building department are like rolling in their grave because they all they want to do is cover their ass. And all we want to do is build a healthy home. And so it's like bringing the educational side, which is really what I think all of us are about, is to try and educate people about why hempcrete houses. Because there's a lot of stigma around hemp and this family. And these are homes that are fire resistant when we mix them with the lime. These are mildew, rot resistant, termite proof. And if you notice in here, it's really disturbing to try and listen to what's being spoken. Because the sound of these materials is really unnatural. These hard surfaces, the glass, it's really unhealthy for us. It's part of our health. It's actually the sounds that we hear, our own voice coming back to us. So if you ever go in a hempcrete house, what you'll feel is you actually sound like you really sound. There's a real purity to the sound of the building materials. So you get a real deep understanding, and I really recommend go and spend some time in a hempcrete house, He has one in Austin. We're building one in Kingsbury, Texas. We're going to put it on a 22-foot trailer, so we're going to do a workshop at the end of the month, 27th of November to 10th of December. And we're pretty full, there's a couple spots left. But really, like, to get your hands in and experience it, you'll want to have home after that. It's not just about the ecology side, or the green side, or the carbon, blah, blah, blah. It's really about us taking back control, being able to grow our homes, being able to localize these things with processes we were talking earlier on, and bring that back to the people. And come to a workshop, come and learn from people that have done it. And the guys who are doing it in Mexico and other parts of the world, we're really trying to get that out there to the majority of people, because this is not about it's going to cost you a fortune and all of that. It's just about getting creative, because it's not at Home Depot and it's not at Lowe's. You do have to have some foresight, but think about the benefits to your own health and the savings you're going to make. Somebody said to me one time, "Oh, what's the price of a hemp-free house?" I said, "What's the price of cancer?" What do you pay for your health? So really, like, I just wanted to put that across, because I know that it's hard to understand sometimes what we're talking about when we're in the details. I'll give a little background on that, so thanks.
Yeah, and to add to that, especially from the conventional construction side, the more natural building, hemp-free side of things, just being in the real estate industry, actively doing these home inspections, there's so many times that the way that we construct our houses, just one example is the HVAC units, right? Now, it's either bad insulation or spray foam, where you're totally foaming in and sealing this house. You have this attic where you have your air handler. There's no moisture mitigation. Every time we've done an inspection after 5, 10 years, those air handlers, those tenants are full of mold. It's breathing that throughout the entire house. So what really awoke in me to this industry and inspired me was the vapor permeability of it, and understanding that concept that, hey, the house needs to breathe. We have the materials, we have the means to make this a vapor permeable type of build for this industry. We don't need to build these layers and plastics and petrochemicals and really build this airtight house that moisture can't be mitigated. Mold is a humongous issue in this country. Almost so many homes that we go through, especially here in Texas, we are in a humid climate, so this is something that we truly need to mitigate. To add on, or to continue talking about, being able to get this to scale, I think is really important. Sometimes, trying to wrap your head around that, it seems like a daunting task, like we're talking about. So, what are some of the things that you think, especially, the skill of labor, getting people taught, or being able to, get systems in place to be able to produce a 50-unit home development or whatever that is. So what are some of the pieces you think we need in place to be able to do that? One aspect I want to talk about too is, I feel the building industry could really support the growing and the processing side of things. Now you see a huge industry, $1,000-trillion building industry, that we can support the growers and the processors. But, we need the building side to get the demand there, we need the growing side and the processing side to start to do it, and I feel like everyone's just waiting on each other. So, what do you guys think are some of the pieces that we can start to expedite to be able to build in this manner, in a larger scale?
All well said without saying chicken and the egg scenario. And so there's a train of thought that I like to put under an umbrella of having a pathway to production. And what that'll look like is my focus right now is to do one thing and one thing only for the industry. It's not building houses, it's to be the demand for the production and supply lines. And so if I build one house, I'm going to take up probably a percentage, a measurable percentage of the amount of industrial hemp that is going to be available for that application. And that's just in one house. I've got 20,000 pounds of herd that's going into a house. Now multiply that times however many houses you see the next subdivision that you drive by. And so we had the discussion about how many houses will be built next year utilizing hempcrete. And then, it was, around 100 maybe. And then the question was, well, how many could be built? And then the answer was, maybe a few hundred. and then that's it. And then so we're Americans. When we want things, we like to get things. And so the thing to do right now is to be the demand by just building. We're going to put our head down and we're going to build because we've educated ourselves enough to know the value of it as an investment, as just a structure that will produce income. We've educated ourselves on the health benefits, the financial benefits, and the ecological benefits. But now we just are putting our head down to build so that when folks like on the farm side and the processing side are looking at getting into this, now they have the offtake that will consume what they want to grow and what they want to process. And so everything comes together. Now, as people learn about this, and on the consumer side, so those who would want to live in a house or live in some space where there's a roof over our head, I'm guessing that's just about all of us, as we know about it being utilizing the hempcrete in the space, having a healthy home, if we will tick a box, click a button that says, hey, I want that. That goes back to the original comment. We're Americans. When we want things, we like to sell things to people who want things. And then the market will dictate to the developer because it's the developer that dictates the development. And then all they're doing is they're putting out little pieces of ground that a builder will buy. And then if the most appealing thing is a swimming pool and tennis courts, guess what we get? Swimming pool and tennis courts. If what we want is a farmer's market and an urban farm, guess what we're going to get? You're going to have chickens running around. And so it's all about the market wanting the right things for the right reasons and having an informed marketplace. So that's a Reader's Digest snapshot of the pathway to production on how to get this to a large scale. And then that's how it gets to a scale on the developer builder side. And that's how it gets to a large scale on the grower processor side. And then all the logistical things that are businesses within that industry that fulfill that. And so that's where we're at, is just being the demand.
Okay, this is going to come from the builder perspective. And in Texas Healthy Homes, my operations manager, Summer Anderson, and myself, we have had at least 6 people in the last 3 months who have called us wanting to buy a finished Texas Healthy Home. Mm-hmm. Because they got so much mold problems in their bodies. Since it's Veterans Day, we've got a vet that we hired. Many vets out there. He's so cute, man. He's 30 days out. He's like green as green can be. He's all walking around like, what do I gotta do? Where do I gotta be? I was like, dude, you're a civilian now. Be where you want to be and do what you want to do. But his family was on base housing. Get extensive mold in it. Infected his whole family with mold in their body. Then he moved to Hawaii, and he was teaching down there because he was on a destroyer. Oh my God. Somebody hit a JP5 line on base, contaminated the water, so that section of base was drinking JP5 contaminated water the whole week. And everybody was sick. So now he's out, his family's got mold problems, they're living in a fifth wheel so that they can try to build their house. They would love to buy one of our houses, but his wife's like, we can't find anybody to build this house. You're going to go work for 10. You're going to go work for Texas Healthy Homes. You're going to be gone because we live on site during the week. But you're going to go get the knowledge so that we can build our house if they can't build it for us. And so it's those type of things that we're getting from people that want a natural house that are coming to Texas Healthy Homes. I'm sorry, hempsters. Okay, y'all are hempsters. So like in the building industry, there's the baleheads, the straw butt people, and there's the dirt baggers that camp dirt in bags, and there's the blockheads and the jodiads. You guys are the hempsters, man. Okay, so it's nothing against you, but you guys are on your own little pigeonhole, which is great.
Better than blockhead.
Yeah, it's better than the dirt baggers.
Dirt baggers, yeah, that's bad. That's bad.
But we have never had somebody call us, maybe one, that says, we want a hempcrete house. Okay, so they're not coming to us for a hempcrete house. They're coming to us for a healthy house. Me, as the owner of the company, have been running down this rabbit hole for a quarter century, trying to get these natural systems to be cost competitive with 2x4, R13, stick frame, slab up construction, because that's what we always get measured against. You know, we don't get measured against equaling our R50 wall that we have. We get measured against our cheapest, lowest thing you can do. So I've always been, that's my target. I see hempcrete having the potential to be that natural material that could fit that niche market. Doing it in an infill and a spray application, they have their own little courts. Going to a hemp block that can be used as an infill in a mass timber sort of construction system would change the game. We are playing with making our own hempcrete blocks, and we are now starting also to play with something that we call a herd adobe, and that's an adobe block with hemp herd incorporated into it to make a fiber adobe block, kind of like Moses, I guess, when the Pharaoh took his straw. You know, that's how far back in time this stuff goes, and it's been used successfully since then. I really see, as the industry goes and moves forward, that all these decortication facilities that are coming on board, well, we're looking at what do we got to do to hook a block making facility up to the decortification system so that when the herd comes out of there, it doesn't go into a bag and become a 10, 20, 30 pound bag. It doesn't go into a super sack. It goes into a big grain silo. From that big grain silo, it goes into a mixer, whatever it needs to do. And then coming out of that decortication system, you got your fiber that goes off to become fabric or whatever it's going to be, or rope. And then you've got semi-trucks of blocks already ready to go, and they get dropped at the job site. And now we're really starting to get rid of the transportation costs, moving one thing to one thing. We're dropping the labor costs dramatically. The 2,400 square foot custom house that we did in Hondo, we said no, we're not using any drywall in the whole dang house. So we did tongue and groove for our ceiling. We did 7 1/4 inch thick hempcrete walls for all of our interior partition walls, bathrooms, bedrooms, closets. We used about 26,000 pounds of herd on that project. It took us about 7 weeks with 11 to 13 people to put that infill in. That's insane. I need to be able to have blocks that I can use 8 people at the max and stack that 2,300 square foot house in under 2 weeks. Because it's only going to take us about 2 to 3 weeks to plaster the whole thing. You know, that's where we really start to go from where we're at right now in the construction industry of $200 a square foot. Ray doesn't like anything above 150 a square foot, which I'm with you there, Ray. I'm wanting to get this to 125 a square foot because I know that for me as a mason and the working class people out there that really need housing and that really need to be in a healthy house, that's what they can afford. And if we can't build housing for the tradespeople and the craftspeople, we're not going to have them anymore. And we already have that problem. So those are some of the things that I see that we need to solve, and that will be solved. And money solves a lot of problems, y'all. So.
And then I'll need sorry, we're going to interrupt you, but and I will add to that, you know, this is the ideal bill. There are some other candidates, plug-and-play products like hemp wood, professional hemp wool, apparently there's hemp rebar out there, so there are other ancillary products that you can begin to put into the standard construction industry. That might not be the ideal bill, but hey, it's always supplement and improve things. So we do need got a few minutes for Q&A. So we'll take some questions from you guys.
What kind of moisture content do you start off with after the mix is done, and then what does that turn into as the moisture starts to dissipate?
When we're mixing that hempcrete, we have a mixing dough mixer, and it goes on the front of a skid steer, most awesome thing in the whole wide world. It's allowed us to do a number of things. We're looking for a light little glistening on that when we put it in. We usually let it set until it gets kind of a khaki nature, so the hemp is actually absorbing some of that in the chemical reaction, and then we tap it into place. I'm not overly concerned about my moisture content at that point in time, because what we're really seeing when you do the clay plasters over top of that lime plaster on the inside is that if you've got any residual moisture in that wall cavity, that clay will pull it out. And it might take 2, 3, 4 weeks, a month, 2 months, depending on what happened at the top. There's some extra water being dumped into it. I mean, there's the water up front, but then there's the water right there in construction that can get in there.
Like today?
Like today. And this is terrifying. I mean, terrifying. Because we had that on a project. And we had one sectional wall with the clay plasters in it. Just took 2 months for it to actually dry, stained, scraped it off, recovered it with clay, got less and less and less, and then it's gone. And so this is the thing that really bothers me a little bit as a natural builder when I see photos of concrete buildings out there. They get siding put on them, they get a cement stucco put on the outside of them, get lime plaster on the inside, and then covered with paint. I don't care what anybody out there says about hempcrete. If it gets covered with cement stucco on the outside and it gets latex paint on the inside and it gets water in it, it will mold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it will mold. So
Yeah, I mean, it's something like 90% water content when you mix it. I mean, every mix, 6 cubic feet of hempcrete, you're putting about 10 gallons of water in there. So that's a lot of water. It's every mix, but then it cures that out over a couple of months. So you're down to like, in the single digits in the amount of moisture in there. And it's always going to have some moisture in it because it's actually hygroscopic. That's the real blessing of the material, that it has an open cellular structure that can handle moisture really well. So it's kind of wicking that out. It's always in that process of moving moisture out from the inside. So we want to keep the walls breathing, we want to put tinted paint and all that kind of stuff that we're used to doing just to seal everything up. It's kind of the reverse kind of mentality. And I just really want to answer the question that I didn't get a chance to before. What I think is important going forward in the hemp industry, really, the industry is going to happen. That's a given. There's going to be thousands of hemp homes, there's going to be millions of hemp homes, especially in the United States because it makes sense financially and people like to make money here, pretty much more than anything else. But if you can feel good about doing that, that's going to really work for people. So you're going to see hemp box and Home Depot in the next 5 years, I guarantee you that. The question is, how do we want to do it? Do we just want it to come out like everything else and be another kind of, bastardized, taken over type of thing? This is really about the power of the people moment, which my partner Imani over there with the camera would say, is the power of the people moment. This is what this industry is about right now. It's not about how fast, how hard, how much money. It's really about how we do this and owning that. It's really about creating localized systems, decentralized systems. We saw what happens when we lose control, when we get told what to do. Because we don't have any power anymore. We lost our power. We don't know how to grow our food. We don't know how to build our homes. We don't know how to do anything. We know how to go to the store and spend money and work our asses off to make that money. We're caught in a trap. And hemp is actually a way to get out of that trap right now by decentralizing things. Working with the farmers, working with the processors, working with the builders, bringing them all to the table with the clients, and then bringing our young ones into this, because this is their opportunity. This is really about the young ones, their opportunity. That's really why we're here today, I think, is that it's coming up from the ground, from the young ones. And we need to teach them that if we do it the same way we do everything else, we're going to end up in the same place 10, 20, 30 years down the road. We need to own this right now because we have an opportunity to make something really special with hemp. And there's other agricultural materials which will do similar things as well, and they'll start coming up. But hemp right now, as you all know, is a really important plant. And so I just want to and in a good way, and it's bringing us back to nature, it's bringing us back to our agricultural roots. So that's all I want to finish with that.
Yes. Well.
This is one of the perfect places for that to happen with the rugged individual spirit of people in Texas. It's like, don't tell us what to do. We got this, yeah. And so, no, but on the moisture and on the water level, you know, so to be able to put the plasters over it, which is the best practice for finishing it. There's a couple of different options to do that, but you need to get to a 20% moisture level content. And so one of the other things that I like about hempcrete and its use is that it regulates the relative humidity inside the house. You know, we're here towards close to Houston, where they've got like Old Testament oppressive humidity in Houston, right? And so even if it's 70 degrees, you're like, turn on the AC because I just need to suck this humidity out of there. Well, it can be a swampy, you know, say if it's like 75 to 80 degrees, that hempcrete is going to pull the moisture out of that living space and regulate the relative humidity to where you're comfortable inside. Now, to connect back to our cannabinoid cousins that are growing in these grow houses and indoor grow spaces, if you have walls in your grow facility that will regulate the relative humidity inside that facility as well as reduce your inputs for your climate control needs, well, now maybe we've got something to work with. So the moisture is something that's very key. It is one of the biggest bad things that can happen to a house. Biggest problems for the house. Even a 10-year-old house that's newly built can have a problem because things are sealed up so tight. So moisture is remedied in that manner.
Absolutely. Just to add to that too, I think one of the most important things we need to do here being an internet research hub is really starting to do these side by side house comparisons. How is moisture regulated? What are the energy saving costs? What is the cost of construction? Really build this picture for the industry so we can articulate the actual value that the market is getting, how much money we're saving, so then we can inspire more of the consumers to demand these types of bills. So I think that's really important for us to do. Did you want to say something?
Yeah. One more thing about moving forward. And how do we move forward? How many architects do I have in here? Can I please get a raise of hands of any architects? Any architects? None? One? Two? Kind of, maybe? Okay. That's great. I don't have to worry about offending anybody now. The architects are a real big problem. Huge problem. Yeah, construction science. But for everybody out there, they are not teaching any of this in architect school. None of it. Anywhere. Okay, so everybody asks about what's the problem with us moving forward and this and the other thing. You go to college and you learn everything in college that you need for the rest of your life, and that's the coup de grace, man. You got it all that you need moving forward. And then you go out in the world and nothing's like what you learn. And so if we're not teaching in our higher education facilities what we need to actually move forward to be a sustainable world, the only thing that we're going to get out of those institutions are concrete, steel, and pretty picture buildings like this one. Okay, I mean, and I hate to be the bearer of the bad news, but I've been in this a long time, and that is the wall I run up against every single time. To where we're actually bringing our design phase into our own company. That's why River and I are so excited to start to work with each other. You know, it's like, he's the architect, and he's like, well, you're the builder, and we're like, hey, how you doing? You know, so we're solving our own problems. That doesn't solve the big problem, though, Ray. Are you seeing that, Ray? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think we got to wrap up, but thank you, everybody.